Imagine a person who manipulates, deceives, and controls with such finesse that you don't even realize you're being used until it's too late. This isn't a villain for a novel or film. This is someone who embodies Machiavellianism, a real psychological trait rooted in centuries-old philosophy. Machiavellianism is a core component of what psychologists call the dark triad, a trio of malevolent personality traits including narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. But unlike the overt egotism of narcissists or the remorseless cruelty of psychopaths, Machiavellians operate in the shadows. Their influence is strategic, calculated, and chillingly effective. In this in-depth video, we'll explore what Machiavellianism really is, how it originated with the Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, and most importantly, the top 7 unmistakable signs that someone in your life may be exhibiting this dark trait. Prepare yourself. This knowledge could change the way you view relationships, power, and manipulation forever. Who is Niccolò Machiavelli? To understand Machiavellianism, we must begin with the man behind the name, Niccolò Machiavelli. Born in 1469 in Florence, Italy, Machiavelli was a diplomat, philosopher, and writer during the Italian Renaissance. His most famous work, The Prince, was a political treatise that gave brutally honest advice to rulers on how to gain and maintain power. In The Prince, Machiavelli argued that moral considerations should not constrain a ruler's pursuit of power. He believed that the ends often justify the means, even if those means involve deception, manipulation, or cruelty. His philosophy was a stark departure from the moral ideals of his time, earning him both admiration and condemnation. While Machiavelli himself was not advocating evil for its own sake, his writings became synonymous with cunning, ruthless politics. Over the centuries, his name evolved into a psychological term used to describe a certain kind of manipulative personality, Machiavellianism. Machiavelli also authored works such as Discourses on Livy and The Art of War, where he discussed Republican ideals and military strategy. However, it is The Prince that left the deepest impression on political philosophy and on psychology. In this book, Machiavelli did not concern himself with how rulers ought to behave, but rather with how they actually behave. His cold, clinical observations have echoed through time as the foundation of what we now call realpolitik, defining Machiavellianism in modern psychology. In psychological terms, Machiavellianism refers to a personality trait characterized by manipulation, a lack of empathy, strategic thinking, and a focus on self-interest. Individuals high in Machiavellianism are skilled at exploiting others for personal gain. Psychologists develop tools, such as the Mach 4 test, to measure Machiavellian tendencies. People who score high on this scale tend to agree with statements like, "Never tell anyone the real reason you did something unless it is useful to do so. The best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. It is wise to flatter important people." These traits are not limited to politics. Machiavellians can be found in the workplace, romantic relationships, and even among friends and family. Their manipulation is often masked by charm, intelligence, and persuasiveness. A high Machiavellian operates based on careful cost-benefit analysis, exploiting others to achieve personal goals without regard for ethics or emotional impact. The origins of Machiavelli's philosophy. To understand how this trait became so influential, we must revisit Renaissance Italy. Machiavelli lived in a time of political chaos, war, and betrayal. The Medici family ruled Florence with brutal efficiency. The Borgia family, particularly Cesare Borgia, was infamous for his cunning. Machiavelli admired the strategic brilliance of Cesare Borgia and used him as an example in The Prince. To Machiavelli, political stability was more important than virtue. If a prince had to deceive, bribe, or kill to maintain order, so be it. He wrote, A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise. Modern psychology borrowed these insights, transforming them from political guidance into a framework for understanding human behavior in any domain, not just leadership. Machiavellianism versus morality. Machiavellian individuals do not concern themselves with right or wrong in the traditional sense. To them, morality is fluid, a tool rather than a compass. This ethical detachment is what separates them from others. Where most people struggle with guilt or shame when they hurt someone, Machiavellians see such emotions as weaknesses to be exploited in others. They believe that the world is a jungle, and in order to survive, one must be both fox and lion, cunning and forceful. Their moral relativism enables them to behave in ways most people would find reprehensible. Top 7 signs of a Machiavellian personality. Sign number 1. Manipulative charm. They seem charismatic, trustworthy, and even empathetic at first. But this charm is a calculated act, used to gain trust and lower your guard. Sign number 2. Deceptive strategy. Machiavellians rarely act impulsively. Every move is deliberate, every relationship transactional. They plan meticulously and view people as stepping stones. Sign number 3. Emotional detachment. They may talk about love or loyalty, but their emotional expressions are often hollow. They mimic emotion, but do not feel it deeply. Sign number 4. Ends justify the means. A Machiavellian will do whatever it takes to win. They may lie, cheat, or sabotage, and justify it by claiming necessity. Sign number 5. Cynical worldview. They believe everyone is self-interested and deceptive, which justifies their own manipulation. They don't trust easily, not even their closest allies. Sign number 6. Gaslighting and blame shifting. They twist facts, create confusion, and make others doubt their own perceptions. Their goal is to maintain control. Sign number 7. Masked hostility. They hide envy, resentment, or anger behind a smile. Their vengeance is slow, subtle, and devastating. Machiavellian behavior in relationships. In relationships, Machiavellians often exploit emotional bonds. They may appear deeply invested, but their love is conditional, based on utility. They're unlikely to show vulnerability and often use guilt, jealousy, or flattery to control their partners. Once they have what they want, they become cold or even cruel. If they feel threatened, they'll turn others against you to preserve their power. This can lead to devastating emotional abuse. Machiavellianism in the workplace. In corporate settings, Machiavellians climb fast. They're experts at managing impressions, forming alliances, and undermining rivals. They often take credit for others' work, sabotage coworkers behind closed doors, flatter superiors while manipulating subordinates. These tactics make them dangerous leaders and toxic teammates. They rarely show empathy or genuine collaboration. Machiavellianism in politics. Politics is where Machiavellianism was born. Many successful politicians embody these traits: calculated rhetoric, manipulation of the masses, and strategic alliances. They understand optics. They manage narratives. They appeal to fear and self-interest more than truth or idealism. Machiavelli advised rulers to be both loved and feared, but if they must choose fear. That logic still drives much of modern political behavior. How to spot a high mock individual. Look for inconsistent stories, too much flattery, a history of broken trust, calculated relationships, lack of remorse for harm caused. Often, they are skilled at masking these signs, but long-term observation always reveals the pattern. Machiavelli's legacy, power or paranoia. Machiavelli's work has been read as both a guide and a warning. Some see him as an advocate of tyranny. Others view him as a realist, unafraid to expose the dark truths of power. Regardless, his name became a symbol of manipulation. Today, Machiavellianism is studied in universities, psychology clinics, and leadership seminars. His words continue to shape our understanding of ambition, morality, and control. Defending yourself from Machiavellian manipulation. Knowledge is power. Here are tools to protect yourself. Set firm boundaries. Document interactions. Stay emotionally grounded. Avoid power struggles. Don't share sensitive information easily. Walk away when respect is lost. Is Machiavellianism always bad? Surprisingly, not always. Strategic thinking, emotional control, and persuasion can be valuable if used ethically. Some psychologists argue that a light Machiavellian mindset can help in negotiations or crisis leadership. It's about balance, using strategy without abandoning integrity. Machiavelli never said to be cruel for cruelty's sake. He urged realism in a dangerous world. Can Machiavellianism be changed? With effort, yes. Self-awareness, therapy, and behavioral change can reduce manipulative tendencies. But high monks rarely seek help. They don't see a problem. Healing often begins not with them, but with those affected. Learning to set limits and choose healthier relationships is key. Machiavellianism isn't just a relic of Renaissance politics. It's a living, breathing pattern of behavior that affects relationships, careers, and entire societies. To recognize it is to protect yourself. To understand it is to reclaim your power. If you found this deep dive into Machiavelli's legacy insightful, help us grow by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Drop a comment if you've ever dealt with someone who used deception as a tool. Let's bring light to the shadows. And remember, the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Niccolò Machiavelli. Stay aware, stay strong, and stay free from the games of the cunning.